Yo, what's up guys? My name is Kennedy and today I'm going to give you an inside look at my Honda CR-V that I converted into a live-in camper. So we'll start off in the back here. And obviously the biggest portion of any camper is going to be the bed platform, and that's where I started my build out. I wanted something that was very light and versatile. So one problem I noticed was that builds that were very sturdy were often permanent, and builds that were easy to take out and were light were often not that great. So my goal was to build something that was very sturdy but also easy to take out and extremely versatile. So in total, the platform extends out to 6.5 feet. I'm about 6'2" myself, so it works out perfectly. And there's just enough room for 2 people to fit inside. If you look in here, there's plenty of storage underneath. It's mostly very empty because there's very minimal framing, which is something I tried to avoid to leave for lots of storage space. Right now, the front is folded back. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna just pull my seat forward and fold it forward. So I have these slats built in here. They're actually inlaid into the wood, and I just pull this out and then I can fold forward this last piece that's on a hinge. So this is exactly 6.5 feet from here, and it's all sturdy throughout. I made it so that I could extend just one side so that this can be left out when I'm driving if I'm traveling solo. But I'll show you the other side, which does the same thing. So again, I'm just going to pull the seat forward, tilt it forward. I'm going to pull out my slat and then fold this over. And now both of them are at exactly 6.5 feet. All right guys, so back to the back, we're going to talk about the kitchen portion of the unit here. I'm going to start off with this open slat. So if you look down here, you'll see this opens all the way up to the front. This was really important to me because I wanted to be able to store long things like a snowboard or very long bags without framing or anything else stopping it from storing those long things. So when I was deciding on whether or not I wanted a car fridge or a cooler, I ended up going with a Yeti cooler because I wanted to make sure that my investments were going beyond just usable in my car. So a Yeti cooler can be used out at the beach with friends or on picnics, so it has a lifespan beyond my use here in the car. What you'll notice is the Yeti is actually going to fit perfectly here. I'm just going to remove this piece. I'm going to take my Yeti and store it right here. So the Yeti is actually the exact same height as the bed platform, so when it's installed, it becomes part of the bed platform. The Yeti is super strong, so it's not at all a problem that you're putting weight on it. The next main portion that we have over here is the pull-out stove feature. I wanted a pull-out stove because I wanted it to be super easy to just pull out, cook food, and then get back to go. I didn't want to have to take things out of drawers and set them up and have a big cleanup process. So the stove pulls out just enough to where I can stand by it. I can open it up, and I can start cooking my food here. I have a water jug right here, and then underneath the stove I actually have a storage unit built in. This is where I'm storing most of my food and canned goods. One big concern for me was that I was going to get hot really easily when I sleep, which is super uncomfortable for me, so I wanted some way to cool myself down. So I actually installed fans. They're small and cheap, but I installed Velcro strips right here so that when I crack my window, the fan is as close as possible to the window. They're symmetrical on both sides, and they are USB powered and plug into my Yeti battery, which I'll show you here in a second. Hopefully right now you can see I have my Goal Zero Yeti 400. It's built on a little platform back here. The reason I stored it here was because when I was driving, I wanted to have access to it. It's been really helpful to charge my phone. I'm a photographer, videographer, so I have a ton of batteries, computers, and accessories to charge all the time. So I really needed a portable power source. To show how easy it is to remove this platform, we're gonna set up some time lapses. We're gonna take it all out. I'm gonna show you some details of the build while it's out, and then we're gonna put it back together. All right guys, so I took everything out, and this is just the two pieces of the drawer kitchen function that I'm gonna talk a little bit about. This is actually made of bearings that I took from an old pair of skates, and then I bolted them into this tray. And it basically creates a track of bearings in which this slides into. It slides pretty smoothly. It's not perfect. I wish I was a better craftsman, but I did the best that I could. I have this little lock placed here to ensure that it doesn't slide out when I, drive quickly. You can see this is a perfect spot measured to fit this water jug. And then underneath it, there's a little bit of an inlay. This is where I put most of my silverware, forks, spoon, knives. There's not that in there now, but I have some other things. The stove I can easily take off. There's this little portion built in to make sure it stays in place. And then these two portions that are attached to the side here are built in to help stabilize as part of the frame for the bed. So this first portion I put in is the pull-out stove. So to set this in right here, and we have two important things here. Because the pull-out stove is heavy, I wanted to kind of anchor it down so that it wouldn't slide anywhere as I'm driving, especially if I don't have anything else stored in the back. So I made two anchor points in the front and the back, and I kind of did it in two different ways. This first one is just a bolt that's kind of tied in here with some metal wiring into this anchor hook that's built into my car. The second one is a similar feature. I just take these screws here, screw it in, and it tightens everything down. Next, we'll slide the stove in, and it's all just one unit and slides in nice and easy. There we have it. All right guys, so next up is this platform I made for the Yeti battery. So it's gonna go right here. It fits nice and snug, perfectly centered between the two front seats, so the front of the Yeti can be accessible when driving. It is relatively heavy, so again, I wanted to make sure that if I made any sudden stops or turns, it wouldn't fly away, so I kind of built this outer lining to keep it nice and snug in place. You'll also notice there's this hole here, and that's where one of the 2x4 supports goes to keep that snug and in place as well. All right guys, so here is the top of the sleeping platform from the bottom. So this is what it looks like underneath the top. It's kind of divided into three parts. This back section here is over where the stove, and this is the gap for that Yeti cooler. This is the bulk of where the weight is being carried, so that's why there's these 2x4 supports across, and they're being connected by these latches that I installed both here and over here. They're basic window latches that I drilled holes for and inlaid so it's still flush with the 2x4s. And over here, these are the pull-out supports for the extended third portion that folds over on a hinge. You can see it pulls out from inside of itself. So this is what it would look like when they're folded back. And then you pull this out when you fold that chair forward, flip it underneath, and that's how it looks. The last portion is, you'll notice these three holes. These are where the 2x4 supports go. So we would take them and pop it into that hole. And this is how it looks with the supports. So you can see the framing, again, was meant to be strong, but as minimal as possible. So this leaves tons of room for storage underneath. So the first portion that goes in is the back third, and it has to come in through the side doors because it is too big to fit through the back doors, but it fits nice and snug. And you'll notice the support plate that was on the edge of the stove drawer fits perfectly in spot. So guys, the next portion that you put in is this second half. This is great actually because my seats are divided into 1 and 2 in the back. So if I want, I can reinstall just the single seat here and only have this portion in, so I could have 3 people in my car all with seats and seat belts, but I can still have this side accessible to lay out fully if need be. Then you put in this last side over here, nice and easy, and you have it all installed. All right guys, thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the tour. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below and I'll try and get to them. Otherwise, see you later.